is the Max Kellerman Show. Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio.
The Max Kellerman Show on ESPN Radio, ESPN News, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80, and on your ESPN smart speaker. Or is it just a smart speaker? We got ESPN everything, Raj. Reach me at 888-SAY-ESPN. 888-729-3776. The Max Kellerman Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests join me on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Be a part of Max Kellerman Nation on the Dr. Pepper call-in line, 888-SAY-ESPN. ESPN Nation is presented by Dr. Pepper. It's official. College football's back, and so is your favorite Dr. Pepper-loving college football town, Fansville. Head to a store near you to treat your inner college football fan to an ice-cold 20-ounce Dr. Pepper today. But first, it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Daniel Jones. You understand that was going to be one of the most spectacular plays in the history of Giants football? You ever see a quarterback make a run like that for the Giants? Or as Gettleman would say, a quarterback make a run like that for the Giants? Raj, that was about to be one of the great plays in the history of Giants football. And as it turns out, it was even better.
It was better. Was it worse than the butt fumble?
No.
Okay.
No. You ever notice how when you see the bloopers of the guys running and just falling down, it's white? Like Christian McCaffrey doesn't seem to get care, like a stereotype, whatever. He's out. But I do think it's out there, and I think sometimes in the open field like that, it may get to a player unconsciously like, I have to do a little more. No, he didn't. Daniel Jones just keep running. Daniel Jones is fast. But it looked like about 10 or 15 yards before he tripped, he thought he had to turn on some extra afterburners. He didn't. He was going to score. And very fast, he's probably the second fast quarterback behind Lamar Jackson, right? And then right around the 30 to 28, it looks like he feels like, I got to do a little bit more. Sideline cracking up. Like Giants players cracking up. But you've seen the stats by now, I'm sure, of the top speeds that a quarterback has attained this year, other than Lamar Jackson, who's just the fastest quarterback ever, right? Most of the top speeds are by Daniel Jones. He's really fast. He does not need to do extra. The only extra thing he needs to do is hold on to that football. Hold on to that football, Daniel.
Max, look, I know you lost, and I know you're feeling down. Your Giants lost another game, but you're not looking at the bright side. Hit it, Chris. Hit it. All right.
Well, we're moving on now.
You're moving on up in the draft, man. You're this close.
Oh, believe me.
To Trevor Lawrence. You are moving on up in the world, Max. You got to look at the bright side. This is the other
That's
side.
right.
You're moving up those words that no one can hold you
I'm
guys
walking
up.
around like
You snatch.
I'm walking around like George Jefferson.
Right.
I'm walking around like George Jefferson right now with my chest
Max,
out.
your Giants snatched defeat from the jaws of victory last night. You're moving on up, but you're going to be all right come draft time.
I don't know. The Jets are going to ruin Trevor Lawrence instead of the Giants. One of these New York teams is going to ruin Trevor Lawrence. By the way, I'm going to get to it later in the show, but what is going on in New York sports? It is, how did we become a laughing stock? Only the Yankees are holding it down, and even they. Well, I'll get to that later. I actually want to talk about Carson Wentz. Had a little carbonated water before the show. Excuse me, Raj. That's better. You can't burp on the air, then because Howard Stern already cornered the market on that. But you know. Raj, let me tell you something. We started First Take today by asking me, what do I think of Carson Wentz? Am I impressed this morning? And you know what I said?
I thought you were finally going to say yes.
You know what I said?
Yeah.
No, I said the truth, which is I felt exactly this morning, and I feel right now, the way I felt about Carson Wentz over the last going on a year now. Whatever it is, 8-10 months. Could have had a baby in the time. You know, the last time Carson Wentz impressed me, someone could have carried to full term. It's been a long time since Carson Wentz was actually good. So I just want to say, I don't question his toughness, and I never have. He's tough as nails. I was in L.A. for that game, the Coliseum, when he played 4 plays with a destroyed leg, basically. You know? You're supposed to be in the hospital, and he had at least 2 completions. He's tough as nails, and he wants to be great. Maybe a little too much. Or maybe he doesn't have enough discipline to be great. But I thought he was the MVP of the league a couple of years ago through 14 or 15 weeks. Then he got hurt. Nick Foles won the Super Bowl. Then the following year, they were going nowhere with Carson Wentz. That was a 500 team with Carson Wentz. Out of the playoff picture. Nick Foles took over. The team caught fire. And they won a playoff game at Soldier Field. A lot of people were taking the Bears to come out of the NFC. Nick Foles beat the Bears at Soldier Field very nearly. Beat the Saints at New Orleans. Receiver dropped the ball. Or didn't turn around. Anyway, the point is, it's been a while for Carson Wentz. But as I said on First Take today, unlike Baker Mayfield, where it's like the worst thing you can say about a guy is, I don't really care that much anymore. I don't care that much anymore about Baker. Because when he said, I know I could be better, a lot better, he could be better. I don't know about a lot better. I don't think that Baker Mayfield has upper-end elite kind of talent or potential. But I think Carson Wentz does. That's why I'm hard on him. Do I hate him and the Eagles because I'm a Giants fan? Well, he makes one of those throws a game. He's good for one. Whoa, was that Patrick Mahomes? A game. He has 3 or 4 other good plays a game. The rest are bad decisions and bad execution. Yesterday was more of the same. If Evan Ingram holds on to the ball, the Eagles line from their own 12. Wentz gets phenomenal protection and then holds the ball forever. He holds the ball, ready for this, for 7 seconds. Does he throw it away? You think Wentz threw it away? No. He takes a sack inside the 5-yard line. That can't happen. And this is followed up by a lousy punt. The Giants start their drive on the Eagles' 39. 1 play later, 39-yard touchdown for Golden Tate. Game's tied. That is a direct result of Carson Wentz's mistake. Now, unlike him leading the league in turnovers, those are stats you can point to. Unlike Carson Wentz being outplayed according to quarterback rating, it's a clumsy metric, but it's a metric that gives you a kind of decent framework. He's been outplayed by the other team's quarterbacks, because it's not always just the starter he's playing against, in every single game this season. Think about that. Now, this is against a terrible 1-win Giants team. Unlike him leading the league in turnovers and being outplayed by every quarterback according to quarterback rating, or every team according to quarterback rating this year, it's the type of play that I just outlined by Carson Wentz it's like a backbreaker that doesn't show up in the box score. Like, as bad as his stats are like that in terms of turnovers, in Eagles territory, by the way, what is it now, 9 in 7 games? As bad as those stats are, they're not even as bad as the reality. It's situational football he's struggling in. Okay, let me go back to my notes. End of the first quarter. Okay, so what I just said was bad enough. It's a tie game, right? Against the Giants. Not like they have a great offense. No offensive line. Andrew Thomas might wind up being good, but tackle is really a skills position. It takes guys a while to learn it, and he ain't there yet. He's a rookie. He's getting abused, targeted and abused. So they don't have pass protection. They don't have run blocking. They don't have Saquon Barkley. They don't have Odell Beckham, right? They don't have dynamic playmakers. Evan Ingram can't catch. End of the first quarter, 1st and 10 from the Giants' 30. Wentz again holds the ball. He refuses to get rid of it until he's in the grasp, and he takes an intentional grounding penalty. So he loses 16 yards altogether on the play. Why? Why does he do it? He doesn't need to be a hero every play. Then right after the Mills interception, Wentz runs backwards over 20 yards. Then remember this? He heaves a jump ball for some reason across his body and nearly the entire field. Why? What is he doing? It's inexplicable. Okay, so same drive. Okay, this was the same drive. He rolls left to his left and throws another, bizarre red zone interception. And the reason I say bizarre is because when he made the decision to make the attempt that had no chance at a positive outcome. Why'd he do it? And the shovel pass into the receiver's back while being sacked. Multiple empty trips inside the red zone. Like, I could go on. Was that an impressive performance? Understand, it's the 1-6 Giants. And even then, with all the breaks the Eagles caught, if Ingram holds on to the ball, the game's over anyway. No, I don't feel any differently about Wentz this morning. Same as always. He has elite talent. He's good for one great Mahomes-level throw a game. He's good for 3 or 4 other good plays. And then nothing but questionable decision-making and poor execution. 888-SAY-ESPN. That was Straight Talk Wireless. Not because I hate the Eagles, which I do, that I'm telling you this. It's because I expect a lot from Wentz, who is a mid-pack quarterback. He's an average starting NFL quarterback when he should be elite. Anyway, everything for less. Straight Talk Wireless, only at Walmart. Daniel Cormier, former UFC champ, joins me now on the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. And Raj, I just wanted to tell you something, Daniel. Raj, my producer, writes, former UFC champ. That's damning him with faint praise, Raj. Daniel Cormier is one of the greats. He's one of the all-time greats. Right or wrong, Daniel?
I am one of the all-time greats. I worked hard for that. So come on, Raj.
That's right.
Don't do me like that.
He did you like that. Former UFC champ. What's that like? That's like Mariano Rivera, former relief pitcher for the Yankees.
Yeah.
Raj, what else do you want to say about that? Yeah?
Or Max, former Olympian. No, it doesn't work like that. It always stays the same.
Jesse Owens, former Olympian. Daniel Cormier. All right, listen. First, I want to start by asking you about details because that way I get out of the way the plug. You know what I mean? You get to plug whatever you want, and then I want to get into the fight. Can we do it that way?
Yes, you can.
I don't know if you've ever seen Annie Hall, but Woody Allen says to Diane Keaton when they're walking home, he goes, "Let's kiss now and we get it out of the way, and that way we can digest our food better," right? So let's just get that part out of the way now. Not that I don't want to hear about it, I do, but I really want to talk to you about the big fight. Tell me about details.
Yeah, well, I do detail on ESPN Plus, and I go and I break down the fights and the fighters, as you've seen Kobe and everybody do in the NBA. Now, this week I did Justin Gaethje because as he gets ready for this big moment, I wanted to kind of shine the light on him and some of his greatest performances. And Max, when you talk about a guy that is dangerous as dangerous can be, and a guy that has ultimate belief, you're talking about Justin Gaethje. He is not afraid. He is not overwhelmed. And as I watched his performances, as I watched him as I did the detail, I was even more impressed and honestly, as a teammate of Khabib, more concerned as to the type of problems that this man may provide the champion.
Look, styles make fights in the UFC and boxing. Styles make fights. And just because Gaethje loses to Poirier, who's going to fight Khabib, who could, et cetera, it doesn't mean it's not by syllogism, A, B, C, and therefore C beats A. It doesn't work that way. Gaethje, to me, does present the challenge. And let me tell you why, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong, and explain it to me a little bit. Here's the analogy I'll use. If you host a show on TV, okay, there is no difficult part of that. Every single part of hosting is easy. It's straightforward, right? If you've worked with really great hosts, and I have, Bob Costas, Jim Lampley, Brian Kenny, I've worked with very smooth hosts who can do a live event, listen, answer, set up commercials, teases, ask questions, interview, set up the analyst. It's the orchestration. It's those in-between spots where you're using different parts of your brain and the integration of all those things that makes a great, TV host, let's say. Okay.
Yeah.
When I watch Gaethje, he's a wrestler, really. That's his background. But his striking is devastating, and he can negotiate those in-between distances. Like when you're going from striking to wrestling. He has good mastery of that, and it makes him very difficult. Explain to me if I made any sense at all just then. I don't hold myself out as an MMA expert.
No, you did, right? Because when you watch a Justin Gaethje match, the problem with trying to corner him and figure out a plan of approach is that he's never where you're supposed to be. So when he fought Tony Ferguson, who had won 12 fights in a row, was scheduled to fight Khabib, he dominated him because he was never where he was. He managed all those empty spaces, right? There are moments in the fights where you either get lost or you kind of live and thrive in those moments. And Justin Gaethje does that. He always says that he creates chaos because he excels in it. But with Khabib, he has to create chaos. He has to make the fight not feel too similar. If the fight feels similar to what Khabib is used to, that means that he's taking people down, he's dominating you, and he's beating you up on the ground. But if it's unfamiliar, if it's ugly, if it's dirty, that means that Justin is spending a lot of time on his feet. He's cutting a ton of angles, being elusive, being evasive, and making Khabib fight where he's uncomfortable. You make absolute sense. It so closely resembles what you're mastering. Yeah, the fight game is the fight game, right? I love your show, the name of the show, but the fight game the name is the fight game. It is what it is. Like when you put a guy like Justin Gaethje that can use that wrestling in reverse, like Chuck Liddell was the one that first wrestled in reverse. And Justin does that.
When you say wrestled in reverse, do you mean, because this is what Gaethje told us on First Take the other day, do you mean that he uses his wrestling to keep the fight standing up? Is that what you mean by wrestles in reverse?
Absolutely, Max, because Khabib wants to take you down, right? It's sprawl and brawl. Gaethje sprawls, he makes you pay when you take shots, and then he gets back to where he wants to fight, spending the vast majority of his fight on the feet. And, he holds an advantage there.
That said about Gaethje, who has real good punching power, I read up. I think it was on like Wikipedia. His father was an amateur boxer in the military, I think, and I mean, my uncle boxed in the military. I don't know. That didn't mean anything, but for some reason, for Justin Gaethje, he has tremendous power. At any rate, So and like he has things going for him, including the wrestling, and he's upset the odds before against Ferguson, for example. But the thing when I look at Khabib, and a lot of MMA people gave me a lot of stuff for saying this, I think he has a chance to be the best ever. And I mean pound for pound. And this is why. I know he hasn't fought enough guys on the resume the way like Anderson Silva or John Jones, has. But I've been watching UFC since UFC 1, since before Zuffa, Daniel. And early on, it was pretty clear. BJJ and wrestling. If that was your foundation, like you could build on that, right? Then the American wrestlers who could stay out of submission holds and start striking and ground and pound and all that. Khabib, whose basis is obviously on the ground, is so physically strong. At a certain point, technique is technique, and everyone has it. So he has masterful technique, but he's so physically strong that and he's in his prime right now. Since that's what the basis of his game is, I feel like it gives him an advantage. It's like if the thing he has naturally plays into the thing he's learned wrestling perfectly.
Yeah, they go hand in hand. I grabbed him in the gym before, Max, and I was like, I'm a heavyweight 205 pounder, so every time these little guys jump on me, I kind of just decide when I'm going to get away, and I just kind of push and throw them off me. Well, one time I'm doing this to Khabib, right? And I'm like, oh, now it's time for me to get up. And I went to get up and realized I wasn't moving. I had to start going hard. I was like, oh, my goodness, I'm having to give this dude some real effort to get away. No 55-pounder, no lightweight should feel that strong and have such a strong understanding of how to manipulate and maneuver his opponents. You saw it in the McGregor fight, and Conor was brave, right? Conor fought. He went out on the shoot. He fought as hard as he could, but he was outmatched. Dustin Poirier fought as hard as he could, and he was just outmatched because the moment you can bring in guys, Max, right? So this is what we do. We try to replicate what we're going to see in the fight. I'm sure it's like that in boxing. You bring a guy, you're going to fight a guy like Floyd Mayweather. You bring a guy that tries to fight like Mayweather. But until you get in there with Floyd Mayweather, you don't understand what you're up against. And so they bring in
hardest guys to prepare for. Hardest guys to prepare for are the supernaturally talented guys
Yep,
because
the
you
one
can't
that-
imitate them in sparring. How do you do it?
Max, you can't. So they bring in all these wrestlers, right? And these wrestlers are trying to take him down. But then the moment he grabs them, it's like, wow, I was getting taken down by these masterful wrestlers, but this guy just feels different. And you really can't put your finger on it and describe what it is that makes him so different. And a lot of it is his physical strength and his mental capacity.
Daniel, as usual, I'm heavy on the segment, as they say in the business. So real quick, obviously Habib is the favorite. Who's your pick?
Oh, I can't pick because I'm calling the fight, Max. Let me tell you something.
By the way, that's the right answer.
Hey, the most sensitive
That's
people
the right
in the
answer.
world, the most sensitive people in the world are fighters. So me not being able to pick fights anymore saves me a ton of friendships.
And not only that, but to avoid the appearance of favoritism, whether or not it exists, if you're calling the fight, you should not make a prediction. I agree. The great Daniel Cormier, ladies and gentlemen, one of the all-time greats, unlike Raj says, former UFC fighter. He's one of the all-time greats, Raj. And you say, yes, when Daniel Cormier comes on, next time you call him you by Shell. Pennzoil synthetic motor oils are made from natural gas. It gives you unbeatable engine protection. The proof is in the Pennzoil, based on Sequence 4A wear test using SAE 5W30. Seahawks quarterback Russell Wilson says that Antonio Brown has taken the right steps for his return. Russell Wilson answered reporters' questions about AB a day after ESPN's Adam Schefter reported that the Seahawks are positioned to make a push to sign Antonio Brown, with his suspension eligible to end after Week 8. Russell Wilson had previously lobbied for his team to sign Antonio Brown. Well, let's listen to what Russell Wilson has to say, and then I'll make some comments.
You know, the reality is with Antonio, he's had some tough moments in his life. You know, especially as of late, and I think that he's gone through a lot of things that he wishes he could take back and do, and just not say or whatever it may be. But I think that he's a special player for sure. I don't know what's going to happen with him or not. I don't know if if it's how serious it is us getting him or not. But I do know that, obviously he can play some football. And
in the history of the NFL, in terms of the numbers, in my lifetime, there was Jerry Rice, who remains the greatest of all time. By the way, people forget now because Tom Brady won 6 Super Bowls, but there were decades where everyone would say kind of like there's never really been a GOAT in the NFL, right? The NFL has never really had a greatest because it's broken down to positions, and the nature of the sport is no one can dominate it the way someone can in the NBA, let's say. And some people say, what about Johnny Unitas or Jim Brown? But that occurred before the modern game. Maybe Jim Brown a little less so, but for decades, the best answer most people gave was Jerry Rice. Some people would say, who's the greatest overall football player you ever saw? And I would say Lawrence Taylor, or someone might tell you Walter Payton. But Jerry Rice was the guy, had of all the great receivers, had the longest career and also the highest peak and maintained it for the longest and won the most Super Bowls. He was just crazy. He's not in a class by himself. Randy Moss came along, and in my view, underachieved. He's the second greatest of all time, right? Had seasons with 23 touchdown catches, and just insane. Antonio Brown was like the next guy to come along to put up consistently eye-popping numbers like that. Not quite Jerry Rice or Randy Moss, but Antonio Brown had 5 different years that could fit comfortably into those guys' career, and you just look, you go, oh yeah, that looks like a Randy Moss or a Jerry Rice year. He seemed to be in the middle of that when he totally imploded. So assuming he's physically okay, what quarterback wouldn't want to throw to him? People have brought it up a lot. Stephen A. made an issue of it. Ryan Clark referenced it today. Someone else did. Tom Brady. Think about the things AB's been accused of. Tom Brady was like, yeah, come live with me. He really wanted AB as a receiver last year. One of the best who ever did it. Of course there's interest in him. And by the way, does he deserve another chance if he serves his suspension and he's not found guilty of charges brought against him? Sure. But that's different than saying, like, do I think he'll help a team while he's on the field? I think he'll help any team ever while he's on the field. I don't think there's a team he wouldn't have helped ever created while he's on the field. I just don't think he'll stay on the field very long. I think as he gains leverage and feels more powerful, then the behavior will start to spill out again, and he'll get himself, he'll isolate himself again. He'll lose his job again. I hope I'm wrong. 888 say ESPN. What a state New York sports are in right now. I'm so depressed about it. Like, the Mets are a joke. The Jets are a joke. And those franchises usually are, Those are the clown franchises. In a major metropolis like New York City, every sport has like 2 franchises at least usually. Giants and Jets. Heritage franchise, clown franchise. Yankees and Mets. Heritage franchise, clown franchise. Knicks and Nets. Well, that's changed a little, hasn't it? Because for years, the Knicks were running unopposed. They were the heritage franchise and the clown franchise. Now the Nets are in town. They're in Brooklyn. They're not the heritage franchise. But the Knicks are certainly the clown franchise, and the Nets have high hopes. The Nets are the team to root for if you live in New York now. Knicks can't get away with just putting any old garbage product, as they normally do, on the court and just figure, well, we have a captive audience. Like, if you live in New York, who else are you going to root for? Nets are in Jersey. Nets are in Brooklyn, brother. Meantime, the Giants and Jets are both pathetic. They made a bad hire with Gettleman, obviously. Here's the Giants' problem. The Jets are usually a laughingstock, but here's the Giants' problem. The mighty Giants, my beloved New York football Giants. They are reflexively conservative. It's fine. In football, you have a conservative mentality, like when Tomlin was hired by the Steelers. Run the ball, stop the run. I don't care how much things have changed, like Bill Parcells. I know my way is proven. This fancy stuff Bill Walsh is trying out in San Francisco, even though it worked even better than the Giants stuff. But that's fine. I'm not saying it can't be done the old school way, but the Giants are reflexively conservative. A guy gives them the feeling, the Mara family, or whomever, right, that gives us that sense of timey, and they think that's the way to go. What did Gettleman ever do to make them think he was the guy? And I know I got to go to break. I'll just end by saying this. The Yankees are the ones keeping it, holding it down for New York City. And the problem is Cashman for too many years was too scared, didn't have the nerve to pull the trigger because it was too expensive, both in terms of what the money would be and what it would cost in prospects to bring in a real ace like Justin Verlander or Garrett Cole originally. And the Yankees paid the price. You only have so many bites at the apple. And they squandered. They had 3 teams probably so far before this year that might have won a World Series where in recent years where he said, nah, let's not make the move for the ace. And so they didn't win the World Series. Had they had Verlander or Cole, I'm telling you right now, they probably won at least 1, maybe 2 of the last 3 World Series. And then this year they signed Cole, and he pitched really well. It just didn't work out because it's not going to work out every year. All right, ESPN investigates season 2, the Running Man podcast, not a podcast, Raj, that'd be ridiculous. Podcast, of course, is now available. Subscribe and listen wherever you get your podcasts. Who will remain undefeated between the Steelers and Titans? No doubt is next. Businesses have to be flexible this year, from working remotely to pivoting their business models for long-term survival, like restaurants moving their slimmest of margins. I think the Steelers have a great defense. The Titans have an uneven defense. Looks great one week against Buffalo, looks bad another week against Houston. But the Steelers have a special defense. Normally I go with that team. Here's why I like the Titans. I love fastball pitcher against fastball hitter, right? Unless it's Gossage pitching to George Brett. That traumatized me a little bit. But country hardball. We got a running back. Yeah, we got a run defense. So now it's up to the quarterback to beat him. I think Tannehill can do it. Tannehill, I believe, is a top 10 NFL quarterback, and I like him to beat the Steelers in a great game.
All right. Okay, let's move it on. Let's move it on to 3-3 49ers, last year's NFC representatives for the Super Bowl. Take on the 2-3 Pats. So Cam and Belichick, they get to see the one that got away, Jimmy G. Pats are 2-point faves. Is that right?
No doubt. I don't see. Look, here's what's on the line in this game. Is it Belichick or Brady? What was it more? That's one of the great. And anyone who thinks that Belichick and Brady weren't thinking the same thing is out of their minds. You think you get to be the greatest of all time without a huge ego? Just because they work hard and pay attention to detail, you think that doesn't mean they have egos? Of course they do. And Brady fixed it so that Belichick's cabinet would be bare when he left. He had Jimmy G. That was the succession plan. Dealt out of town. So then Brady puts himself in a lovely spot, right? The Bucs, really good defense, ascending team, offensive weapons everywhere. They'd have been at least 9-7 with a quarterback who just didn't turn the ball over a lot like Jameis Winston. And if you give him a premium over that, there's 10 wins and maybe even get to the NFC Championship game. Who knows?
All right.
And even so, I think it's more Belichick. And he has Cam Newton. But if he goes to 2-4 on the season, I'm not trying to hear excuses. Because there were no excuses when Brady was your quarterback. And Cam is good. So I say, no doubt, Pat should be favored. I like them to win.
Rapid fire on these. 30 seconds about. All right, the 5-0 Seahawks take on the 4-2 Cards on Sunday Night Football. Seattle 3.5-point faves. But the other question is, will they remain undefeated?
No doubt and no doubt. Seattle, look, divisional games are tough. The Arizona Cardinals have shown you they can beat you even without their A game. They have talent. But go ahead, turn it into a shootout. What did Casey Joyner just say? That favors the lesser team nowadays, unless that lesser team is the Seattle Seahawks. They win the shootouts too. I like Russell Wilson to get it done.
Right. And real quick, the Bears, 5-1 Bears, are at the 4-2 Rams. But get this, the Rams are 6-point faves. Vegas blew it, Max.
No doubt. I'm taking the Bears in an outright upset, just like I took them against the Bucs. I think the Bears have an underperforming defense capable of being elite. I think they have a quarterback who comes through in the clutch. I think they're very dangerous this year. You impressed by Wentz? I'll tell you if I was. Coming up.
The new ESPN app, now with ESPN Plus. Baseball.
Say ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. The Max Kellerman Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests join me on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Carson Wentz. People very impressed this morning. He beat a one-win team that he had to orchestrate a comeback against. And the reason he had to orchestrate a comeback is because bad decision after bad decision was made by him. What have I been saying? Like, hey, do you feel any different about Carson Wentz today? I feel the exact same way. It's not Baker Mayfield. The worst thing you could do is just not care about a guy anymore, right? Like, Baker's all right. And when he said, I'm not worried about what the media says. I know I could be much better. I'm just worried about people in this room. The media gets paid to do that. I get paid to do this. He's absolutely right. But I don't know if Baker can be much better. I think he could be better. I don't think he can be elite. I think Carson can be elite because I've seen it. Through 14 or whatever it was weeks of the season a couple of years ago, year the Eagles won the Super Bowl, I thought he was the MVP of the league. But he got hurt. Nick Foles took over and won MVP of the Super Bowl. Won playoff game after playoff game, including MVP of the Super Bowl against Tom Brady and the Patriots defense, Bill Belichick. Then the next year, the Eagles were going nowhere. 500 team, Nick Foles took over. They caught fire. They went to Soldier Field to play the best defense in the league, and the Bears, a team that was favored by many to go to the Super Bowl that year. A lot of people liked them. They weren't like the favorites, but a lot of people liked them to upset the odds and get there. It's like, they were among the favorites. And Eagles beat them behind Foles. And then they went to New Orleans. How are you going to beat New Orleans at New Orleans? Foles almost did it. The receiver turns around. Foles, hit him with the ball. Almost beat the Saints. That wasn't Carson Wentz. And then last year, everyone's singing his praises because the Eagles, who were struggling mightily, as was Carson Wentz, got healthy against one of the worst divisions in the history of football, the NFC East last year. By the way, in all of his performances against the NFC East last year, Carson Wentz fared worse than the other quarterbacks in the division fared against the teams that Carson Wentz had just beaten. In other words, if Wentz beat the Washington team, then Daniel Jones, a rookie, played better against Washington than Wentz did. Or if Washington started, who did they start last year? I'm forgetting already. But it was not a starting quarterback. And they would do better against, like, Dallas than Wentz would do. He won games because it was an awful division. Now, I said then he's not the worst quarterback in football. He's top 15. He's a mid-pack starter. Top 15, he's top 10. Stop it. Wentz is good, as I've been telling you in the second half of last year. And so 9 from their own 12. Wentz gets phenomenal protection, holds the ball forever. We're talking about 7 full seconds. Does he throw it away? No. He takes a sack inside the 5-yard line. That can't happen. He's not a second-year quarterback on his rookie deal. He's a fifth-year quarterback on a $100 million+ deal. Taking a sack inside the 5-yard line? You know what happened? They followed it up with a lousy punt. The Giants started their drive on the Eagles' 39-yard line. One play later, 39-yard touchdown for Golden Tate. I'm literally reading from notes I took on the game last night. Thought I was going to have to talk to Dan Orlovsky on First Take today. But, so I was like, let me actually take some notes. Game tied. Tied game. How does he do that? I'm not talking about, like, when he leads the league in turnovers, that's obvious. He led the league in turnovers. That's bad. When I tell you, but these are like back-breaking plays that, as bad as the stats are that way, don't tell you the full story. Wentz kills the team that way. Oh, he didn't kill the team last night. Shut all the way up. They're playing the Giants. And even though they're playing the lowly Giants, if Ingram holds on to the ball, the Eagles lose anyway. Okay, end of the first quarter. 1st and 10 from the Giants' 30. Again, Wentz is holding the ball. He does not get rid of it. He refuses to get rid of it until he's in the grasp of the defense, takes an intentional grounding penalty. He lost 16 yards. Why? He does not need to be a hero on every play. Then there's the play right after the interception, Mills' interception. Wentz runs backwards over 20 yards. Then he heaves a jump ball across his body, across the field. And it's inexplicable. What's he doing? Same drive, he rolls left and throws another interception in the red zone. And the reason I bring it up, as I mentioned in the first hour, all these plays that he makes, what chance is there of a positive outcome? None. Shovel pass into a receiver's back while he's being sacked. Gets to the red zone, doesn't get any business done down there. Yeah, he's going on a little run now. They have 2 wins. Oh my God. Because they're playing, of course you get healthy against the Giants and the Washington team. I mean, if it was against any team other than the Giants or Washington, maybe like a couple Jets and teams like that, his play before the fourth quarter drives they put together recently, his play would have put the game out of reach for the Eagles. And even then, if Ingram just holds on to the ball, he loses anyway. Carson Wentz everyone's very impressed with his play in the fourth quarter. What do you think?
We'd love to not be in those situations where our backs are against the wall. We left a lot of plays out there. We were in the red zone a lot and didn't score many points. So those are things we got to clean up and be better. But when our backs are against the wall and we got to make plays, I'm going to give guys all the opportunity in the world to make them. And Coach does a great job of calling the game in those situations. We're playing fast, putting a lot of pressure on the defense, and we're obviously doing
something. It's a 2-4-1 team. They beat one of the worst teams in the league, in the worst division in the history of football, in spite of Carson Wentz's many mistakes that I just outlined. It's like, Carson, why are you so great? No, Carson Wentz is tough as nails. He has upper-end elite talent. He is a mid-pack starting quarterback because he makes bad decision after bad decision and is impossibly inconsistent. He's also regressed. He was an MVP caliber player not long ago, and he is far from that nowadays. I'd like to welcome in now a die-hard Eagles fan, a golf expert, the golf expert here on ESPN, the great Michael Collins on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. You can check him out at ESPN Caddy. There he is, Santa himself. What's going on, Santa?
Hey, number one, I'm not Santa. I'm like Tyrone Claus, Santa's cousin. And I show up December 27th.
Tyrone Claus, all right.
Once the kids start, when the kids start acting naughty is when I show up, take all the toys back, and tell the kids, I told you we watch all year long. Start acting right again, you get the toys back. And yes, I am a diehard Eagles fan. I'm going to play the role of Dan Orlowski just for a second. I am not disagreeing with you saying that Carson has made some bad decisions. I'm not disagreeing with you that the Eagles are in a horrific division. And the fact that they're 2-4-1 and lead the division and are probably going to win the NFC East, it's like winning skinny kid at fat camp. I know. Like, hey, I won skinny kid. I got to stay here at fat camp.
Did you?
So I'm still.
Did you actually win a skinny kid at fat camp? You sound like you're talking from experience, Michael. Have you ever won skinny kid at fat camp?
No, of course not.
Oh, okay, I just wondered.
I never went to fat camp because they don't have fat camp for grown-ups. I'm just saying. But listen.
Right. I'm gonna win fat guy at skinny camp. But anyway, good.
Right, yeah. Why are you so dismissive on the fact that, one, Carson has stayed healthy for a full year how many times?
Oh.
Thank you.
He's been healthy for a year, has he? Oh.
One other question. Hold on. And another important question.
Reaching.
Who exactly is Carson throwing to, and who's protecting him? Like, when is the last time this dude that you're saying is just
Mailata actually is really good. Mailata,
they
got guys on the offensive line. He's good.
6
and
on
by
the
the way,
offensive line. Woohoo, yay! And now Deshaun Jackson is gone too.
When I hear
Listen,
about this,
you can say whatever you want about Carson Wentz, but what you can't say is that right now, listen, when he had a healthy, full team, what did he do? He acted like an MVP and put up MVP numbers. Okay.
Wait, hold on a second.
Okay.
The very next year,
on, man.
he did, but he won 0 playoff games because he got hurt. Then Nick Foles took the team to the promised land.
The very next year, did he make it through the year healthy? Did he make it through the year? No.
No, but I'd like to remind you of something.
Foles comes in and plays fantastic. That's great.
They were a 500 team when he went down. Foles played him into the playoffs and won a playoff game. And then last year, Carson Wentz was awesome. He was infuriated. He did the exact same thing that he just did. He had a bunch of bad plays every game, bad decision-making, bad execution.
Awesome.
He'd have one miracle throw because it's like, wow, that's a Patrick Mahomes. One great throw, 3 or 4 decent plays, and the rest were garbage. Yeah, you act like that's great.
Awesome. No, I didn't say it was great, and I'm not taking away from that. But you can't dismiss the fact that this dude is playing with nothing but backups and guys that were working at 7-Eleven 2 days before the game. Wow. Okay? So it's not like he's coming in there and stinking with the starters. Okay? He's not stinking with the starters. Like,
Let me tell you something.
Listen, Max,
Daniel Jones is dealing with the same thing. He's just as good as
the fact that Carson Wentz
yesterday.
But who was?
Daniel Jones was just as good as Carson Wentz yesterday, and he's in the same situation.
Did Daniel Jones win?
Dude,
did he win?
As a matter of fact,
I'm hearing crickets.
Wait, hold on.
Hello? Going down?
You are talking about Michael. You are talking about guys dropping balls.
It's the skinny kid at fat
What
camp,
happened?
But
he
still,
hit Ingram in stride. He dropped the ball. That's not Daniel Jones's fault.
No, he didn't hit him in stride. Ingram didn't make the catch.
Carson Wentz.
It's only called hitting him in stride if he actually catches the ball.
Well, he put it in his hands. It was in his hands.
So he didn't hit him in stride.
Is that Daniel Jones's fault?
Carson Wentz hit the. Carson Wentz hit his receiver perfectly in the numbers, except he hadn't turned around.
Didn't you just bring up the drops from Carson Wentz? Put it this way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Some of the drops when you talk about Carson Wentz. So why is that okay for Carson Wentz but not Daniel Jones? I'll take the Sanders. You brought up Miles Sanders before. Last week, drops in the end zone. Carson Wentz throws late to the wrong shoulder. Sanders almost makes a play on the ball and drops it. And it's like, if he tried, it was a drop. It wasn't a drop. It was a bad throw.
But if he makes the catch, what do you call it? Like last night, if Ingram makes the catch, what do you call it?
Catch.
Like, who gets the stat? Are you going to say it was a terrible? Okay, like, here's the thing. You know what's not on the stats?
Daniel Jones threw a good ball.
The same thing is on the golf
scorecard.
scorecard. There ain't no pictures. There ain't no pictures. So when people look back at all the stats, they be like, man, must have been a great throw. I mean, these dudes are doing awesome. Look at those numbers he's putting up. Like, you can't just say, well, I'm going to use the stats here because they work in my favor, but I'm not going to use the stats here because I can make this dude look worse. Come on, man.
Michael, answer me this.
Come on, bro.
First quarter, the Eagles are up 7-0, right? 3rd and 9 from their own 12.
Yes.
Wentz has 7 seconds to throw the ball. He takes a sack inside the 5-yard line. Then subsequently the Giants tie it right
Horrible
up, right?
decision.
Horrible
decision.
That's one. End of the first quarter.
Horrible
first
decision.
And 10 from the
Here's
Giants
my question.
30.
Wait,
he
hold
holds
on.
the ball.
Stop.
He
Here's my
refuses to
question
get
to you.
rid of it. He loses 16 yards. If he's playing a competent team, the game's already over.
Whoa, back up. Number one, see, here's where you got to back up. Okay, 3rd and 9, he gets 7 seconds, and he throws it away for an incompletion. They were on the what yard line? 12, right? They were on the 12-yard line.
Right.
12-yard line. Mm-hmm. Okay, so he throws it away, and now it's 4th down from the 12-yard line, and the punter kicks it to the Giants 45. And the Giants scored 3 plays later. Because the last I checked, I don't know, Carson Wentz doesn't play defense. So does starting field position, the fact that they hit Golden Tate on a bomb 39-yarder, like, okay, so they hit Golden Tate on a bomb 30. You said that Daniel outplayed Carson Wentz. So then don't take away from.
No, I didn't.
Well, they could have started at the Giants 45. That's
Let's
fine.
put it this way.
But don't dismiss that. Don't just act like because Carson Wentz made a bad decision and took a sack inside the 5, that was why the Giants scored. No. Carson Wentz didn't play defense. I don't care where the Giants started. And even if they get a field goal out of that, they still got points. No one's saying it was a bad decision. But don't say the Giants got a touchdown because Carson Wentz took a bad sack. Nah, it doesn't work that way, bruh.
Michael, I said that Daniel Jones played just as well as Carson Wentz or just as poorly. If I had to say who played better, maybe that pass to Boston Scott separated Carson Wentz, but by almost nothing. By the way, according to quarterback rating, like I'll go through every game with you. And show you where Carson Wentz's bad decisions were backbreakers, right? The Eagles trailing. He has so far turned the ball over 9 times in 7 games in Eagles territory. He kills, even last year when they caught fire, supposedly, he would cough the ball up on 3rd down in the 4th quarter. They were lucky to recover. You know, I'm not questioning his toughness. This dude is tough as nails.
I am not disputing anything that you're saying,
He's almost as talented as anyone. He is so inconsistent that he's a middle-of-the-pack quarterback. And, Michael, he's paid over $100 million to make up for the deficit of the team. He is not playing like a $100 million player. He's playing like an average starter. That's not good enough for him.
Max, I'm not disputing anything that you're saying as far as making bad decisions. But you cannot tell me, and don't dismiss the fact, that the team that he is playing with is not the team that he was preparing to play with. So I don't care how much money that you pay somebody. Do you think if Russell Wilson was in the exact same situation and he's the quarterback for the Eagles and he has to deal with injury after injury and new guy after new guy, please don't tell me that you don't think that Russell Wilson might make a couple bad decisions. That's, again,
no, this is what I'm saying.
As a big-time Eagles fan, too, I'm giving you the fact that, look, the Eagles are in a horrible decision or in a horrible division. And that Carson has made some really bad decisions at quarterback. But you can't dismiss the fact of where he is and where that team is injury-wise and who they're bringing in.
I'm not dismissing, although it's a little bit like they have a ton of injuries. They have guys playing well, too.
Like yesterday,
plays. Yesterday. Like last year, I heard about Miles Sanders. Who's Miles Sanders? If you watch the game, Miles Sanders is really good, actually, right? All these problems on the offensive line. Actually, he's really good. I'm not denying that a quarterback would feel pressure in Carson Wentz's position, especially if he has Carson Wentz's talent to make things happen. What I am saying is if it's a second-year quarterback on a rookie deal who hasn't learned his lesson, like that hero ball's actually usually killing the team, I would get it. He's a fifth-year quarterback on a $100 million plus deal whose team would be better off if he would just play situational football. Like, that's the difference. Situational football right now and just proper decision-making and execution, that's the difference between Carson Wentz and an elite quarterback. Like, the Eagles are paying for an elite quarterback.
What you're saying is, what you're saying is that if Carson Wentz plays smart situational football, that the Eagles' record is better than 2-4-1? Are you serious?
Oh, yeah.
Have you been taking California
and
medicine?
Last year they'd have been better, too. And last year they'd have been better, too. That's right. Carson Wentz kills the Eagles.
Carson Wentz give up on the defensive end? How many points did he give up on the defensive end?
Carson Wentz, actually, it's funny that you say that. When you turn the ball over 9 times in your own territory in 7 games, you give up a lot of points on the defensive end. Oh,
any of those pick sixes?
I just dropped the mic all over you, Santa.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
I'm sorry.
Because of the teams
I'm
that
sorry.
they were losing
I'm going to have to.
I mean,
I'm going to have to
I
say.
understand.
I'm sorry. I don't make the rules, but I do have to enforce them. I did drop the mic all over Santa Claus. I apologize. The great Michael Collins, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to hear someone talk about golf, this is the dude. This is the best golf analyst in the world, and diehard Eagles fan. At ESPN Caddy, at ESPN CADDIE. Carson Wentz was in the zone of some sort last night, throwing for 2 touchdowns and running for 1, extending his winning streak against the New York Giants to 8 games. With Get in the Zone is brought to you by AutoZone. Get in the Zone, AutoZone. See what's happening with the Raiders O-line? Are they going to have to postpone this game against the Bucs? And should there be a penalty here? Max Kellerman, ESPN Radio. It's time for some straight talk, just like in football. You want the best Jonathan Abram placed on the COVID-19 list. The Las Vegas Raiders have placed all 5 starting offensive linemen on the reserve COVID-19 list, along with safety Jonathan Abram. After starting right tackle Trent Brown was placed on the list, on Wednesday, left tackle Colton Miller, left guard Denzel Good, center Rodney Hudson, and right guard Gabe Jackson each landed there Thursday. All 4 were deemed high-risk contact after Brown tested positive for COVID-19. Will we see another game postponed? It seems to me. I mean, how do you play without an offensive line? The question to me is not whether it should be postponed, is what should happen to the Raiders? Did they break protocol? It seems like from reports that there are guys doing things without masks. I think you have to establish in these cases, are you following the rules or not? If a team isn't following rules and there's a COVID outbreak and there's a postponement, there should be some penalty. Now, you can follow the rules and still get COVID, or you can not follow them and not necessarily get it, right? But there has to be, like, if you wind up with an outbreak and it turns out that team wasn't following protocol, there's got to be a punishment. Even if you say, well, you can't really establish a causal link. Doesn't matter. Good, then let it dissuade those. Let it serve as incentive to follow the rules. Dissuade those who would break them. Break protocol. One thing I don't understand, like a lot of these, it's like so impossibly irresponsible public figures talking about, hey, in our state, politicians talking about, hey, in our state, we leave it up to you. If you want to wear a mask, wear a mask. If you don't want to wear a mask, don't. That is the most immature, idiotic public statement a public official can make. It's not like, let me explain this. Maybe I have to use sock puppets. It's not about whether you want to wear a mask or not, because it keeps you safe. Wearing a mask is about keeping everyone else safe. You know, the right to swing your fist ends at my nose. If you don't wear a mask, you're swinging your fist and hitting people in the nose. You got to follow the protocols. And if you don't, do you understand? They're attempting successfully so far to play tackle football in the middle of a pandemic for which there's no vaccination. In the middle of a pandemic, they're successfully getting through now almost half an NFL season. Tackle football. You know how many positive COVID cases there were in the NBA in the bubble? 0. The NFL doesn't have a bubble. They're doing better than I thought they'd do. Got to give it to them. But if you're not following protocols and you have an outbreak, there's got to be a punishment. Draft pick compensation. I think I heard Ryan Clark talk about that on Get Up this morning. Something. There's got to be a punishment. If not, forfeiture of the game. Serious. This is serious business. You know, COVID cases hit the all-time high in the United States. New cases, I think it was over, was it 73 or 76,000 new cases today or yesterday. And this is usually, as the cases are spiking upward, there's like a 2-week lag time as they compile the data. This is not playing games, folks. I don't know how the Raiders play without their O-line. So you're going to have to postpone the game, it seems to me. But there should also be some kind of sanction against the Raiders for this, if it's found that they indeed broke protocol. If not, it happens. And you can't blame the Raiders in the middle of a pandemic for someone becoming infected and infecting others. Even if you follow protocols, the disease spreads because the carrier is asymptomatic for a while. It's a clever disease, you know? Because while you're asymptomatic, it's spreading, and then the symptom pops up, and then go ahead, contact trace the 100 people you came within 6 feet of, right? Or even the 5 people, because they came in contact with 5, and there you go. So, yeah, if the Raiders broke protocol, there should be some kind of a punishment. Max Kellerman Show is presented by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who save with Progressive save over.
What do you think?
No, I don't think so. I think that Philadelphia is even more banged up than the Cowboys, except for the quarterback, obviously. And I don't know that Wentz gives you such a premium that Philadelphia wins the division. In fact, once the Cowboys beat Washington, if that's what's going to happen, I actually like the Cowboys simply because they're a half game up. That's how close I think it is. Champ and say, oh, by the way, that's news from Max Kellerman Nation. Dan just hit us up on the Dr. Pepper call-in line to say he thinks Wentz gives the Eagles the edge. I think most people think that, in fact. Champ in San Antonio, you're on the Max Kellerman Show.
Yes, sir. How you doing, boss?
Good,
yeah,
go.
I believe that Jerry Jones is cursed. Do you believe in curses?
I certainly do. In sports curses, absolutely.
Okay, this man fired Tom Landry over the radio. His wife had to tell him he was fired. So I need you to do your research and find out if there's any truth to that. And for 2, I feel like Daniel Jones, Eli Manning would have failed, Tom Brady would have failed, all those guys would have failed.
They would have fell. They would have never been in the open field running. I mean, look, the problem with Daniel Jones is he had the touchdown, and then he had to try to put on the afterburners. They keep showing these stats. Daniel Jones, of the top speeds achieved by a quarterback on the field this year, called up his wife and fired him over the phone. I don't remember that. I may have known that at one point. I don't remember. What, he'd take his hat and break it over his knee, and ever since then, the Cowboys can't win? News from Max Kellerman Nation. Champ just hit us up on the Dr. Pepper call-in line to talk about the idea that the Cowboys are cursed. Well, I certainly hope that's true. Whitaker in North Carolina, you're on the Max Kellerman Show. Go.
Hey, Max. Huge fan. I watch First Take legitimately every single morning. I love what you got to say, other than the Kawhi thing, but I'll save that for NBA season.
Well, I was wrong.
But I'm calling to make a last change. I saw a little blip on the TV about Gettleman, and I think that the Giants should be absolutely done with Gettleman at the end of the year. You know, it's too far into the season to be done with him now. I think his time's over. If you think about the 3 biggest moves he's done, and I saw it on Zubin either today or yesterday, Saquon might not have been the best pick, and I know that's kind of a hot take because I love Saquon.
No. The point about Saquon is this: if you want to debate that pick, you don't pick a running back second overall. That's the debate there. But like, it takes no special talent to recognize that Saquon is a special talent, right? So, and it's also Saquon, not Saquon, as far as I know. Anyway, what else? Oh, he's gone already. No, you got to get rid of Gettleman before the next draft. How hard is it to fix an offensive line? You draft a guy in the first round, you coach him up, you sign some guy off someone's practice squad that's underrated, you go to the Canadian Football League, there's a guy up there that no one's ever heard of, get you some depth. You sign a guy, a veteran who's just going to be solid at guard. You know, I mean, like this, it takes... The Giants haven't had a line since 2011. Since 2000, maybe 2012. You go 8-10 years without an offensive line? Maxwell in Fort Worth. You're on the Max Kellerman Show, ESPN Radio.
Hey, Max. I hope you're doing well. I just want I hope you're doing well. You made a statement 2 days ago about Clayton Kershaw being a loser like Wilt Chamberlain. Wilt Chamberlain was definitely not a loser.
No, I'm not. I didn't say a loser like Wilt Chamberlain. No, don't misquote me. What I said was Kershaw, at best, if he turns his fortunes around in the postseason, will go down in history with Peyton Manning and Wilt Chamberlain. Now, that's an awesome thing to be, because it means that you have an argument that in the regular season, you're the best who ever did it. But your postseason play fell off to the point that you're not actually in the GOAT conversation. When was the last time you heard someone mention Peyton may be the greatest player ever? Because in the regular season, he was. Or Wilt, for that matter. Because in the regular season, you have an argument for Wilt. They didn't come up big enough when their teams needed it most, usually. They each have 2 championships. Clayton Kershaw has 0 championships. This would be working on his first one. He ain't in the Peyton Manning, Wilt Chamberlain level yet. He's got to get a couple of championships just to be in that level. And what that level is too bad they weren't better in the playoffs, because they might have been the GOAT if they were. That's what I'm saying. Guy makes one comment. I yell at him until he's off the phone. Anthony in L.A., you're on the Max Kellerman Show, ESPN Radio.
Go Clippers, baby. I got something for you. What about Van Fleet to the Clippers and get rid of Lou Williams?
Van Vliet is a very good player. I don't know why I have to get rid of Lou Williams.
No. Hey, but I know Marcellus. I ran track with him with the Jets. He knows me very well.
Oh, boy. Oh, all right. You didn't intimidate him on the way up, did you? Like, what was his name? What was that guy's name who used to intimidate Marcellus? Raj, do you remember?
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, he told me about him. Yeah. At first it was his sister that used to beat him up, but then someone at school used to intimidate him.
Brian Bembo.
Yes. Brian Bembo. How'd you get that?
I just want to say,
yeah,
I'm glad
he used to bully him.
That Lou is there. I think we're going to be a lot better than last year. I just think Doc.
I'm done with Anthony already with the Clippers. Will you stop it with the Clippers? Van Vliet. You know what's hilarious about the Knicks? They had all these plans. We're going to clear cap space, and you ain't doing anything. You traded Kristaps Porzingis because you poisoned him against New York while he was still on his rookie deal. You suffering a freaking. How did Yosemite Sam do it? He used to like cuss, but he would do it with fake words. Frassima. That's how I feel about the Knicks. How do you poison a guy against New York while he's still on his rookie deal and you trade him for peanuts? It's insane. And then you have the audacity, that you have the nerve, as Stephen A. was like, the unmitigated gall to sell it to us like it's part of a rebuild, as though the Mavericks said, you know what? We're going to use Dirk Nowitzki on his rookie deal. We're going to trade him to rebuild. Hakeem, you're out of here. We're going to rebuild on your rookie deal. Same thing with Tim Duncan. What? You trade Porzingis to rebuild? It's idiotic. They're lucky if they wind up with Van Vliet as their best player, the Knicks. Good player, good free agent, though. What a weekend.